Hey guys, Sundown here. This is going to be my chapter review to Nanatsu no Taizai 270, Encounter with the Unknown, or the Seven Deadly Sins 270. Now the chapter starts off with Meliodas and Ban back in Purgatory. We see some indigenous Purgatory dwellers. You can tell by the fact that they're not coated in that kind of demonic black or blackness or their darkness. They're just flesh and blood Purgatory dwellers. And this time the Purgatory dwellers are giant grasshoppers with little T-Rex arms, and they're just jumping through the landscape, or so it seems at first. And Ban asks Meliodas what the first thing is that he'll do when he returns to the real world. And Meliodas says this is hardly the time to be asking a question like that. And I was just confused here. I was like, why would Meliodas not want to answer that question now? You know, they're in Purgatory. They got a lot of time to, get through. Why not just answer it then and there? They got a lot of time. So we then see Meliodas, who seems to be on the move. He tells Ban the first thing he wants to do is remove Elizabeth's curse and then drown himself in Banya ale. Something Meliodas would say, and he did actually answer the question in the end. Ban says he would revive Elaine and then drown himself in Aberdeen ale, which is something he would do as well. So they're both kind of just made for each other at this point. We then see why Meliodas and Ban look like they're on the move, and why Meliodas thought Ban's question was inappropriately timed. They were being hunted by these grasshopper beings which jump towards Meliodas and attack him eventually, and that's why he was just kind of running like that. One of these grasshoppers spits a magical black globule at Meliodas, and we know it's magical because Meliodas full counters it, and he can only full counter magical attacks. And he full counters it back at the creature, and surprisingly enough, the creature tanks the attack and continues trying to attack Meliodas, even though the black globule would have hit itself at like multiple times the strength. Suddenly Meliodas is then pulled away by the tail of a foreign species creature. You can tell this is a foreign species creature by its blackness, and it's coated in darkness. And this creature looks really, really unique. It's like this bat-winged, toucan-beaked, dragon-looking thing, and that's the best description I can give. And it's here that Meliodas, he's kind of coated. He's pulled away by this creature's tail. It's kind of like a scaly, kind of armored tail. And it's here that Meliodas is in quite the pinch, and Ban makes quick work of the foreign creature, decapitating it and rescuing Meliodas. So Meliodas, I think at that point would have been like, uh-oh, but Ban just rescues him easy. So Ban then proceeds to show us just how powerful he's become. He's become crazy powerful. He kills all the grasshoppers at once using a move called Crazy Hunt. I'm not sure if it's something we've seen before. I don't think so. I haven't reread Nanatsu no Taizai more than once, and I just don't remember a move being called Crazy Hunt. And it looked awesome. The grasshoppers just cough up blood and they drop dead. And I was like, yo, shit, like, what the hell? He just murdered everyone. So, but Ban isn't finished. Even his sense of hearing has somehow improved in Purgatory. And he one-shots another one of those indigenous creatures we saw when we first got to Purgatory. The walrus, marsupial mixed looking thing. So Ban and Meliodas proceed to eat the creature, saying that that creature's particular flesh tastes really good, even though neither of them actually needs to eat because Ban's immortal and Meliodas isn't really a physical body that needs to be sustained. So Meliodas tells Ban that it's been 500 years since he's seen Ban, but he's still shocked by Ban's ability to adapt. Now, I got a little confused by the time frames here, because Meliodas says it's been 500 years since the last time he saw Ban, but later says that Ban has been in Purgatory for a millennia. Now, if it's been 500 years since he's seen Ban, then it's only been 500 years, and now they're chilling with each other, and it's been 500 years. It hasn't been a millennia, unless he meant that he spent the last 500 years in Purgatory with Ban, which makes more sense because Ban was by himself in Purgatory for like I thought it was only like 200-300 years, but at a stretch it could be 500 years, so maybe a millennia. But once again, even that situation is a bit mess. So you guys explain to me, how has it been a millennia for Ban through Meliodas' description? Because I thought Ban had only spent about 300 years in Purgatory prior to meeting Meliodas, and then maybe 500 years has passed since then. It hasn't really been a millennia. And if Meliodas' description is correct, that he met Ban after 500 years, having spent that alone in Purgatory, Meliodas himself, then either way, well, then in that sense it could be a millennia. It might be that way actually, because since they've met, it's been like another 500 years, you'd assume. So Meliodas then tells Ban that what surprises him isn't that Ban tried to adapt to purgatory, but that his body has allowed him to adapt to purgatory. How has it done that? It's impossible for any other human. So and he's also aware that any other human would have broken in some way or another, whether it be physically, emotionally, or mentally, anything. But Ban then tells Meliodas of his observations. His skin isn't burning anymore. He's not freezing anymore due to purgatory's harsh conditions. His lungs, which were always sore and swollen, feel healthy, and he feels like he's just breathing fresh air, like back in the real world. So it seems that after these 1,000 years, which it has been in purgatory, Ban's body has become so tough that even purgatory can't damage him. His body has just become so physically physically inept, physically masterful, that he's become basically impermeable to the damage of purgatory. And this is a very suitable power up in a basic form for Ban, because it means that like little minor things that the commandments can do to him in terms of damaging his physical body probably won't work anymore. So Meliodas clocks onto Ban's main power up though, which is that his mental fortitude is off the charts. Ban's mental fortitude is crazy. He survived 1,000 years in purgatory and didn't lose his mind. Granted that about 500 of those have been with Meliodas, with his best buddy, but I don't even think it's been 500 years, but apparently it's been close to that. Or however many years he spent with Meliodas, he spent there. But he did spend, initially I thought 300 years, but apparently about 500 years by his onesies. So Ban has really like his mental fortitude is just crazy, because he's spent all that time alone. We can't even comprehend spending a decade by our ones, and Ban did so much more, and I think around 500 years, like I said, and he hasn't broken. So Meliodas then tells Ban that his body and soul must have undergone exponential growth due to weathering the conditions of purgatory, and when he returns, he suspects that everyone will be shocked at Ban's growth. Ban simply says that he can't feel anything has changed, but if he can fight a commandment toe-to-toe, he'd be happy. And this is where Meliodas starts to laugh. He's like, I'll fight a commandment. And obviously that's what Ban thinks. Like he thinks Meliodas is laughing at him because he thinks he could fight a commandment toe-to-toe. But I don't think this was a laugh of derision. I think Meliodas knows full well that Ban could destroy possibly any of the commandments for jokes. Maybe just not Esterossa and Zeldris at this moment in time, especially Esterossa, because he's just a bit cray-cray. But I think he could destroy any of the other commandments for jokes in his current condition, excluding the effects of their commandments, like if he accidentally spoke a lie or something to Garan or something like that. So Ban then returns the compliments to Meliodas, saying that he's realized how insanely powerful he is, due to the fact that purgatory's ice and flames don't affect Meliodas in any way in the slightest. But when Meliodas struck Ban with his purgatory flames, even his immortal body was left scarred, and we've seen that scar since the beginning. He then tells Meliodas that when he returns to his body, he doubts anyone will be able to stand in his way, and that's pretty much what we think. But I'm not too sure, because will Meliodas be powered up by his emotions, or will he be weighed down by his emotions? We'll see how that goes, but the whole point is that Meliodas, as he becomes more ruthless, he becomes more powerful, so I don't know. So they both get hype after having complimented each other and get ready to find the Demon King again. They also talk of how they want to grope Elizabeth, that's Meliodas, and how Ban wants to spit some mad game all over Elaine. Make of that what you will, but Elaine still looks like a child, Ban, so I ain't going to prison for nobody, So you carry on with that. Now, a couple of panels before this, we see a silhouetted creature spying on Ban and Meliodas, and while they talk about reopening the boar's hat and everything, the creature continues to spy on them. It turns out both Ban and Meliodas were completely aware of the creature's gaze, and they quickly zip right next to it, taking it by surprise. But this is where things get quite fun. Meliodas dances with his blade, but his steel doesn't actually sing because it doesn't connect, it doesn't actually hit anything. So the creature turns out to be incredibly fast enough to dodge this weakened Meliodas, I suppose. But it was fast enough to dodge a Meliodas of some kind, which is impressive by itself. So it dodges Meliodas and steps behind him. Ban then proceeds to attack the creature, but is also outpaced, surprising him for one thing, but also he loses his fingers in the process. He's just there and he's got no fingers on his hands, and just like, yo shit, where the hell they go? So Ban's eyes catch up to the creature, only for him to suddenly be very concerned. Meliodas has a sharp, bony weapon pressed against his back, keeping Ban very still. He doesn't want to have to. He doesn't want to have found Meliodas only for him to die in purgatory. So they ask the creature who it is, and the creature responds in with the same question. He calls Ban and Meliodas strange-looking creatures. Obviously, they're not from purgatory. but also mentions that he heard them saying they were going to return to the other side, obviously interested in getting out of purgatory. Now the creature asks if they're not from purgatory, with Ban and Mel telling him, yeah, you know, we're not from purgatory, we're from another world. So Ban asks if the creature is a henchman of the Demon King, a very important note, which he denies. And the creature says he does actually know the location of the Demon King. Apparently everyone knows the location of the Demon King, because, you know, he's the entry point in and out of purgatory, and also he's the Demon King in purgatory. You're bound to know where that guy's going to be. So he knows where the location of the Demon King is, and he could lead them there, but for a price. And we then get to see the creature in its full glory, a wild looking boar with big ass tusks. So the creature calls itself Wild and looks exactly like Hawk, only wilder and with tusks. So the creature's price is to help him find his long lost younger brother, which I assume has to be Hawk, right? It's like, this creature is Hawk, and it's powerful as shit, and it was able to dodge Ban in his powered up state, and it was able to dodge Meliodas, and it was able to even take Meliodas by surprise. So Ban and Meliodas shit their pants, and the chapter ends there. But I am shook by this development. We see Hawk, basically, well, it's confirmed now that Hawk and the parrot from Liz and Meliodas' days, they're both creatures of purgatory, and same could be said for Kath. I think it might be a creature of purgatory, so that's just crazy stuff right there. But Hawk, it turns out to be the younger brother of this creature, so I can't wait to see what happens, and it's going to be awesome. So let me know what you guys thought of this chapter. Let me know what you guys thought of this review. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff, and I'll see you guys in a bit.